when you build a bridge, you build it so it's not going to fall down. In other words, don't cheat on your. But now engineers have all kinds of very complex problems, like how do you do a risk analysis on how to store nuclear waste. Wow, nobody knows. In the business school, they worry about this kind of thing. If you're going to be this, our business school is just a place that's going to train the CEOs of the world, and they want their corporation to succeed. And what they know very well is that nothing they're being taught tells them how to cope with the current world with its interdependence. So how are they going to make decisions? Okay. And so the answer here is, well, what you need to do is work with your own mind so that it can actually tune into things as they are, and that then when your gut tells you to do X, it's telling you to do the right X. Okay, and all of this is shown in the imagery of the Bodhisattva. He's got all these heads so that he can know things. He's got eyes on his 1,000 hands, and he's got an implement in each hand to go ahead and be able to do it. Guan Yin is listening to the cries of sentient beings and what they need, and she's holding that little magic vase that has the elixir that she's then going to pour down onto the sentient beings that's going to help them. So, okay, the next point is anywhere you plug into this system, okay, the wisdom side, the compassion side, internal side, the external side, it can kind of be the little match, the pilot light that starts it off, and that's going to then cycle round and round and build your wisdom and compassion, just the way negativity builds in the samsaric way. And it's the Dharma wheel is turning in the opposite direction from the wheel of samsara. Okay, here's a summary of the points. The wisdom is inseparable from compassion. You can enter through compassion. You can experience compassion either coming from other or from self. Join with wisdom, you know what to do, and the path builds that and forth. And don't forget, you yourself are included as an object of compassion, because we have in our dualistic mind, the way things form, back to what we learned in the first part of the class, the mind sense always feels a bit separate from what it's perceiving about oneself. So one can look at one's own thingies with the eye of kindness, compassion, friendship, warmth, just as you're looking at the things that appear to be external through the eye or the ear. Okay, now our view of compassion and outward goingness and everything is either it doesn't exist, that is, you never have anyone's welfare in mind but your own, or, well, yeah, it's something that evolution developed strictly for the purpose of having groups succeed over other groups, so it's not really compassion. But in the Mahayana, it's been called by, obviously, Western scholars an ontological given. So all of these teachings are to evoke compassion, not to prove it. Yes?
There's also, you might have heard Maturana's concept that the human being as evolved today is the human, as the Homo sapien commons, which means the loving human being. So there's a little bit of that in some theories, but
yes.
That's pushing on.
Yeah, well, the Maturana Varela gang are being very influenced by meditation and by the Buddhist side, and they're also being much rejected by, unfortunately, the Western people who say, well, fuzzy, you know. But yeah, you're right. I mean, this is coming in for the psych majors, and if any of you are in vision science. J.J. Gibson just had a vision of interdependence and all of that and based his optics on it. So things are popping up. Okay, so it's not disproved by any of the Western stuff because it's not on the same dimension. And in particular, the mechanisms of compassion in Buddhism would, of course, be arising interdependently or codependently, such that, if this is our basic ontological given, then, yeah, the body is going to arise as something that has oxytocin, has all that good stuff that is going to be there because we're embodied. And here's just a little bit of terminology because you're going to run across it. So bodhicitta, this is a new term for your awake mind, your noble heart, your awakened heart. Absolute bodhicitta is shunyata, but it's described through the eye of compassion. And so emptiness through the eye of compassion, it's that you're seeing the world in this friendly and radiant way as being not so deadly and serious, but more like a kind of lucid dream. And relative bodhicitta is the interdependent arising of the compassionate mind and the full. When I say phenomenal world, that's the way that's usually translated. It's the experienced world. Okay, so now the experience side of this, our relationship with others in the world, particularly ego. Now, from the ego point, the illusory ego's point of view, this is a business deal. How much can I get for how much do I give? And even have trainings that say, in your marriage you should make sure that there's an equal whatever. So couples, there's research on couples. You ask the husband and the wife, how much of the housework do you do? And always, if you add them together, adds up to well over 100%. In other words, you each think you do much more than 50%, and you feel put upon. Now, that wasn't happening in the initial falling in love. You could care less. Something else is going on. The bodhisattva could care less. Vacation from ego. On vacation, you're not taking this computation either. And there's a POM stands for psychology of mind, this system that most couples therapy, you sit down and you work on your problems, and they say, no, that's what your problem is to begin with. Don't work on your problems. Forget your problems. What was the magic that got you together in the first place? Remember that. All right, let's start from there. Okay, now, the ways of entering into compassion directly, without all this meditation stuff, is to ride on your qualities of being a human. human realm. So you kind of go in with the gate on that. The first is acknowledging interdependence. Now, I said this before, I'll say it again. It's all interrelationship. So even the most strident individualist is being individualistic in relation to other people, as in, okay, this is ads. They really understand things. This understands our culture, American culture. It's for a group of mutual funds, and presumably, they're going to be whatever it is, one of those ungulates, not the sheep. But why is he standing out? Because it's in relationship to all those sheep. And how that's going to make your money earn more is for you to not question. Okay, so if you want to stand out or get away from or win them over, be different from or not conform to, that's your way of being interrelated with the group. And those are ways of belonging. It's just you belong in opposition instead of in the other way. Now, even in the most minimal situations, and remember I played you that little tape from This American Life. Okay, 2, seeing the compassion of others, even in unlikely places. And there's some traditional ways of doing this, which kind of don't work in our culture. So traditional, think of your mother and all she did for you. Well, you know what that often does in our culture. My mother is the cause of all my problems. But look, see, looking at the compassion of others, this is just a horrendous situation. And look at this lady down here. She's a sick old lady. Compassion doesn't make her. Oh, the other people are looking at her. You can just see that. Something I once observed, and I had forgotten this incident completely until it happened to come up in my narrative seminar, and people like this, so I'll tell it to you too. The first time I was ever in had gone off sabbatical to a meditation place, and I was there for a while, and then I had an accident where I hit my head and hit it in such a place that it hit rather hard, and for a while, not only did I feel terrible and jumpy, but it cut off, it damaged some blood supply to the face, so blood came into the face, and my face swelled up, and it turned purple and black and yellow, and it was really horrible looking. I didn't look like a human for a while, and so not only did I feel bad, but nobody could relate to me. It sort of cut off. People couldn't look at me, and this happens with facial injuries. There are support groups for people and everything. So, except now, I was living in this place where there were a few children. And one of them was this little 4-year-old girl who was the child of one of the staff. And one of them was the son of the head teacher, who was about 8, and who was a very poorly functioning autistic child. Or at least my psychologist diagnosed it. Anyway, he had the classic symptoms. He had essentially no language. He had only a few words. He did not look at people. He couldn't relate to people. He was a danger to himself. He would bang his head. And one of the 3 words that he had was chocolate. So he loved chocolate, and he would go around to people. There wasn't a lot of chocolates there. He would say, chocolate, and he would then reach in their pockets and see if they had any chocolate. And anyone who gave him chocolate, he would remember that. And when the little commissary would open, he was there at the door, chocolate. So here I was with people not able to kind of talk to me, and this little 4-year-old comes bouncing up, and she says, "Oh, you look like a monster." And so we played Monster Man for, and I go, "Here's the monster." Ah! And she goes, "Ah!" And then a couple days into it, this little 8-year-old boy comes up to me and I'm sitting down and he says, "Chocolate." And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have any chocolate." And he said, "Chocolate." And he took out a chocolate bar and gave it to me. He's never been known to do anything with chocolate before, except scarf it down and open more. Okay, another traditional, even the fiercest animals care for their young. Well, the first time I heard this, I said, well, sure, I mean, the fiercest animals, but you mean big mammal, carnivorous mammals, and, because they're mammals, they care for their young. A dung beetle doesn't care for its young. It just lays its eggs in dung and goes off, and, so this doesn't, and, that's the unruly students nodded. Okay, so, but there has been research because, the armed forces are interested in this. What motivates soldiers? Well, no, it's not because they get all hyped up and they hate the enemy and they run out and they want to kill people. The motivation that makes them able to function properly is cohesiveness, caring about and feeling cared for by their buddies. And even terrorists, the research that has been done on either terrorists who've been about to blow themselves up on a bomb and they've been caught and taken off and questioned, or those that at the last minute change their mind, which there are actually a lot of. What's the thing that gets them working is, again, they're a member of a cell, they have relationships, there's this cohesiveness with their buddies whom they care about and they care about the opinions of, and they're part of it. And the ideology gets filtered through the human cohesiveness rather than the loner. And those that change their mind at the last minute normally do so because they see, and the most frequent reason is they saw a mother and child or mother and children, and they say, what am I doing? So, a prisoner. This gentleman, this is a self-portrait. He was writing to Bo Lozov's ashram prison project where they exchanged letters with prisoners. This man was considered the most dangerous prisoner there was because he had killed a number of other prisoners. He would fashion knives out of various ways. So he's writing to the ashram prison project. He's telling this story. There was a mean, tough, nasty, bitter tongue who hated everyone and everything, and that was his description. And then the story is a little cat doesn't know it's a prison, somehow finds its way in and gets through the bars and starts going around. And one day, the little cat comes up, and he wouldn't admit it, but the little cat would just be on him and say he's still being a nasty prison. And eventually, it goes on for many panels. He picks up the little cat, and all the other prisoners kind of gather, who normally keep a wide berth, and gather around and they smile. Okay, now, noticing and acknowledging our responses to needy, helpless young, particularly in pictures. You see disasters on TV, respond, people contribute lots of money. The Harlow experiments, psychologists have probably heard about this. Little monkeys are raised. There was a time when it was considered that babies, this was the child-rearing advice, should not be picked up. They should be left in their crib and fed. Okay, these are the pictures that changed that. This is, he gave a wire mother that fed the monkey, a cloth mother that did not feed the monkey but could be cuddled, and there's this little monkey clinging to and kissing the cloth mother, and it changed child-rearing. Hostility to cloning. That's CC, the little kitten that was cloned, and it is, research has shown it's changing people's minds. Fear of experiments with just medical procedures. This little girl had one of those, and she lived, and she's 1 year old, and people go, oh, extreme need. Or it seems. Okay, now, let me just give you this following meditation, which we're getting towards the end of the class, so I recommend highly that you do it at home. You start with yourself traditionally and extend it to others. You can do it any way that works for you. You're an object of compassion, too. And it's simply sitting and saying these lines to yourself. Right. It's very practical. It might help. It'll be on the website if you can get it. Yep. Yes. Pardon? Right. Yeah. Right. That's right. Yes. When you act. So far,